AJ Goodman's in the room, and if those of you who have watched my show, you know he is the writer. He writes for everyone. I wish I can get writing opportunities like this young man has. AJ, how are you today, man?
Good, Ben. I appreciate being on your show. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, my pleasure. I didn't want to just keep you there while I do a rant on Hillary Clinton. I'll talk about Hillary later on. There's always plenty of time. Well, actually, we're getting ready to talk about her now. You have an article out that has caused a bit of controversy, and I don't think that's I think that happens every time you write. You cause a bit of a stir and a controversy, and you write really provocative, and you shine a light on things that other people aren't talking, in my opinion. So I want you to tell the audience about your article and some of the pushback you've gotten from it.
Okay, so basically I wrote an article talking about how white privilege is a big part of Hillary Clinton's ability to withstand scandal, an FBI investigation, and a whole number of other issues, and how Bernie Sanders had to, I even say Bernie Sanders benefited as well from being white, but he's had to work his way to where he's at. Not saying that Hillary Clinton didn't work, because she worked hard to achieve, everything that she. $153 million in speeches to Wall Street. I mean, that's a lot of work. But the point, but the point is this: if Barack Obama in 2008, Senator Obama had an FBI investigation. Now you can say whatever you like about whether you believe it's true or not, or whether it's fabricated. The FBI is not a right-wing, a GOP, department of the GOP.
Right.
Okay, so they are investigating Hillary Clinton. If Senator Obama in 2008, if he was investigated by the FBI, if 67% of Americans, and this is the poll in terms of favorability, 67% of Americans distrust Hillary Clinton. Over 70% of independents distrust Hillary Clinton. Independents make up a majority of the American electorate. That's over 40%. So and still this inevitability narrative is being pumped by a lot of people. So if Obama had to deal with that, or if Michelle Obama, let's talk apples and apples. Hillary Clinton was a former first lady. She rose up using that basis, that foundation. Okay, if Michelle Obama became senator, then became Secretary of State, and had an FBI investigation, and 67% of Americans distrusted Michelle Obama. And we're talking everything from Whitewater to Benghazi, even if you think that, because I think a lot of them are just right-wing things.
Right.
A person of color, a black or Latina, a woman, a person of color could not withstand what she's been able to survive politically. That was my point. My point was, when you look at it's a euphemism. White privilege is a euphemism, okay? And with euphemisms, you can use them to your advantage politically, unfortunately, in many, many different ways. But when the left is forced to look in the mirror, okay, people do not like that. There's a lot of writers out there who would like nothing more than to take very safe things, whether it's Planned Parenthood debates or very, very safe things, and say, look at those evil Republicans. They're crazy, they're stupid, which is true in many respects. I think Donald Trump is an absolute buffoon. I think he'd be the buffoon-in-chief if he became president, okay? But even Donald Trump gave money to Hillary Clinton, $100,000 to the Clinton Foundation. So what I'm saying is this. When you look at the money trail, prison lobbyists donated to Hillary Clinton. She used the phrase super predators, which is Black Lives Matter protested that the fact that she used that phrase, and Michelle Alexander in The Nation talked about that it was coded language for black youth in the 90s. You're talking about a person in Hillary Clinton who will say anything. One example, too. In 2008 against Barack Obama, had Obama said this, he would never have become president. In 2008, Hillary Clinton said that she was shot at by snipers in Bosnia. That never happened. Had Obama said that, what do you think would have happened? It would have been the end of the campaign if he made up something. So that's what I'm saying. The fact that I never said that she didn't earn any of her accomplishments. I said that a big part of why she's able to withstand everything. 67% of Americans distrusting her, an FBI investigation, making up stories, is the fact that her skin color is an issue.
Okay, let's start. I get the premise. The comparison between Hillary and Michelle, right? We discussed that last night on the show. I think that's a great analysis between the differences between the treatment that Hillary Clinton gets versus Barack Obama. If Barack Obama had one of the many scandals that family has had, then there's Obama's presidency would have been over, right? So I get that portion. But let me push back. Of course, Hillary Clinton benefits from white privilege. Bernie Sanders has white privilege, and everybody throws around white privilege a whole lot, right? But let's put it aside and say, do you think it's something? Could it be something different than white privilege? You know, I'm just trying to get to the core of your article. What else could it be?
Of course, look. Of course, there's a whole lot going on when you have a Democrat, and I have a great deal of respect for Joanne Reed. I think she's fantastic. She's a Hillary supporter, but I think she's great. In her book Fractured and in a Democracy Now! Interview with Amy Goodman, she goes into detail, and essentially it's very funny because a lot of what she says has driven me to write. So she goes into detail about how Hillary Clinton is a neocon of the party.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So if you're a liberal neocon, and in the article I talked about how Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. towards the end of his life was vehemently against the Vietnam War. A big part, obviously, not just militarily, the fact that also it took political will and money away from causes that help impoverished people in America. So
right.
When you are completely militarized, now when you look at Ferguson, militarized police, well, where did they get the surplus gear? That was from the Pentagon. So the issue is if you have an extremely warlike society, so Hillary Clinton is going to essentially merge Republicans and Democrats into one in
yep.
terms of foreign policy.
Yep.
You should have, we only have a two-party system.
Okay.
Now, if we have a one-party system with a person who takes money from prison lobbyists, whose husband incarcerated more Americans than any other president, now how does that look in terms of quote-unquote expanding on Obama's legacy? She'll do the opposite, because what President Obama did was the opposite of Bush in many ways.
I get it. Yeah. I get it, and I got to cut you off just because I still want to get back to. Unless you're going, you might. You know what? You're a smart guy. You might be weaving this together. Let you finish.
Okay, so the political power. So there's other things. I mean, there's political power. So for example, she's able to. It's not just white privilege. Okay. So I never said it was only because she's white.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm saying is a person of color could never get away with what she's getting away with. That's number one. That's a huge issue. Okay. That's a big issue.
That's clear white privilege. You're able to get away with stuff that black people would not, or even people Hispanic or anyone else would be done day one.
And I would even say, in terms of her impact on the African American community, if this person were black, so if she were a black woman, and she called black youth super predators, and she took money from prison lobbyists, and her husband incarcerated more Americans than anyone else, and according to the Black Lives Matter president in Boston, Donasia Yancey called Hillary's racial justice record abysmal. Even in that respect, if she were a person of color, people would take her to task for that. The fact that she is not, there's a little wall there. And I would say, look, in terms of power, well, obviously it's a political machine. There's a journalist, Walter Russell Mead. He has an article in the American Interest talking about Hillary Clinton's political machine, and basically it's, look, you do something for me, I'm going to do something for you. This is why politicians of all backgrounds are. This is why Rahm Emanuel, and I wrote about this. Rahm Emanuel endorsed Hillary Clinton. Get this, Ben, in 2014. This was 2 years before 2006. Okay, 2 years before the election. Rahm Emanuel endorsed it, and that is called a political machine. That is okay.
Political power, political privilege, right?
Political privilege. Before the people have spoken, she's already gotten super delegates. Well, gee, was it because of the FBI investigation? Did people say, well, this is fantastic. She's an amazing candidate. I'm going to vote for her because of the FBI investigation, because that will help us beat Trump. That will help prevent the buffoon Donald Trump from becoming president. No, it's political power.
Your argument overall is you do point out in the headline, you point out the the white privilege, but your overall argument is there's just so many layers of privilege to Hillary Clinton, to Hillary Clinton's success. Not that she didn't work, but
Yeah.
her work was enhanced by all the privilege that she got all along.
And the second part of it is this: if Bernie Sanders had an FBI investigation, well, forget about it. It's over, done with. If Bernie Sanders had taken money from prison lobbyists, well, you can forget about that campaign. I mean, off the bat. Bernie Sanders.
Okay, let's stop at that one. I think that is the perfect example of political privilege, and I I will categorize that as white privilege because it is a barrier. You described it as a barrier. It's a wall. It's a wall of black people protecting her from criticism about things that they would have eviscerated Bernie Sanders over. If Bernie Sanders took a dime from prison lobbies, for-profit prison lobbies, there is not a black politician that loves Hillary Clinton right now that would not be after his throat, right? And so in this case, I will call that, I do personally define that as a type of white privilege because you have your own little troop of black soldiers blocking and defending you from any legitimate criticism. So in that regard, I don't think that there's anybody who can argue with what you just said. If Bernie Sanders took money from a prison industry, then he would be done, particularly from the black community. But this is the black community benefiting Hillary Clinton, which to me is irony, right? But we don't have to go into that. What I want to know from you is the pushback that you got on this article.